Hello, I'm Maciej Mikos and you're watching World News live from Warsaw. The long-anticipated call between US President Donald Trump and Russia's Vladimir Putin is underway. The White House shared a post by Deputy Chief of Staff Dan Scavino breaking the news.
Happening now. President Trump is currently in the Oval Office speaking with President Vladimir Putin of Russia since 10 a.m. EDT. The call is going well and still in progress.
The German Bundestag has voted to amend the country's constitution, allowing the incoming government to increase the national budget deficit without limits to fund defense spending and provide aid to Ukraine. Additionally, a special fund of 500 billion euros will be created for infrastructure modernization and climate protection. The proposal will have to be approved by the Bundesrat, the upper house of parliament. The bill, supported by CDU, CSU, SPD and the Greens, passed with the required two-thirds majority. The far-right Alternative for Germany, the left, BSW and FDP voted against the reform. The law revises the debt brake clause in Germany's constitution, which previously restricted the budget deficit to no more than 0.35% of GDP. The amendments now will allow defense, civil protection, cybersecurity and military spending exceeding 1% of GDP to be exempt from budgetary limits, with the government permitted to borrow funds for these purposes. Poland, Lithuania, Latvia and Estonia are withdrawing from the Ottawa Convention. The treaty bans the production, stockpiling and use of anti-personnel landmines by signatory parties. The move is aimed at preparing defences in the face of the growing threat from Russia. The decision comes after officials of the four countries declared their readiness to withdraw from the agreement. On Friday, Lithuania's defense minister said that the withdrawal could be part of a broader regional initiative. The country ratified a treaty prohibiting the usage of anti-personnel mines in 2004. The move to leave the convention will require a proposal from the Lithuanian president, following approval from the State Defense Council and Parliament.
In light of these considerations, we, the Ministers of Defense of Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania and Poland, unanimously recommend withdrawing from the Ottawa Convention. With this decision, we are sending a clear message. Our countries are prepared and can use every necessary measure to defend our territory and freedom.
There were over 180 attempts to illegally cross the border from Belarus to Poland in the last 24 hours. That's according to the latest reports coming from the Polish border guard. Meanwhile, Latvian authorities moved to close 3 border checkpoints with Belarus and Russia as migration from these countries continues to pose a threat to Western security.
The last 24 hours have seen the highest number of illegal immigration attempts from Belarus to Poland recorded in a single day this year so far. The Polish border guard has been reporting a spike in the number of attempts to illegally cross the border in recent days. There was also an incident when migrants attacked Polish servicemen with rocks, damaging their vehicle. But the Polish-Belarusian border is not the only hotspot in the region. 3 border crossings in Latvia, 1 with Belarus and 2 with Russia, are pending partial closure. Few days ago, 4 immigrants were detained at the crossing at the Latvian-Belarusian checkpoint in Paterniki.
The migrants were staying in close proximity to the state border. No aggression was observed, but there were some shouts and statements about border guard officials who monitored the situation. During the interviews with them, it became clear that there were risks of group gatherings, quite large groups, and they can register in an organized manner.
On Monday, 30 people were detained at the crossing, prompting the conversation on halting pedestrian movement across Latvia's border with Belarus and Russia. The Latvian Interior Ministry says such measures are a response to growing hybrid threats from the two countries.
The United Kingdom and the European Union are on the path of cooperation, as the former Foreign Secretary and EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs met at Carlton Gardens in London. David Lammy and Kaja Kallas discussed the situation in Ukraine as well as the Middle East and Africa during the Tuesday talks, focusing on Europe's approach to these crises.
We know that we are meeting at a very tough geopolitical moment in which there is, of course, war in Europe and our deep concerns to continue to support Ukraine at this time, and of course to achieve an enduring and a lasting peace in which just today there are huge challenges in the Middle East. We've discussed, of course, war in Africa and our concerns in relation to Syria. But in terms of Europe and the European future, I am so pleased that this is the first time that a UK Foreign Secretary has met with the EU's High Representative in 5 years.
In these turbulent times, we have to work closely together with those partners that share the same values as we do. There are many issues around the world where I think our cooperation is very much needed. I mean, like you were listing all these things where we are cooperating, exchanging views, but also coordinating our policies. And I think there's so much more we can do. The foundation of our relationship is very, very strong, and we need to build on that. What more can we really do in terms of these turbulent times, especially when it comes to foreign policy, but also when it comes to security and defense.
Early on Tuesday morning, police forcibly evicted hundreds of migrants who had been sheltering at the historic Gaîté Lyrique theatre in Paris for the past 3 months. Officers from the riot squad broke through barricades set up by activists. The operation, which began around 6 a.m., followed an order from Paris police prefect Laurent Nunez to clear the theatre, which housed around 450 migrants primarily from sub-Saharan Africa. Politician Daniel Simonet condemned the operation, saying that the officers were extremely violent toward what he called peaceful migrants. Protests erupted outside the theatre as demonstrators opposing the eviction clashed with police. Kosovo, Albania and Croatia have signed a trilateral declaration on defense cooperation in Tirana, aiming to bolster defense capabilities and enhance regional security. The agreement, signed by defense ministers from all 3 countries, focused on improving military interoperability through joint training, exercises and defense industry collaboration.
Albania, Croatia and Kosovo share joint values when speaking about risks in the region or in the whole of southeastern Europe. This declaration shows not only political will, but several shared priorities for our 3 countries, military industries. We are cooperating deeply. We wish deeper cooperation in the geopolitical situation we now have in the southeastern part of Europe. Aware of all the risks and dangers happening in the eastern part of Europe and Ukraine, and thinking of our recent past, we decided on this joint cooperation of our 3 countries based upon our experience. This cooperation will basically focus on working with our intelligence services, but also through the development of the defense industry and changes and amendments to our previous very high-level agreements.
Hamas-run health authorities in Gaza have reported that an Israeli airstrike killed at least 400 people in the Strip on Tuesday, including many children. The terror organization is calling the action a breach of the 2-month-long ceasefire brokered by the United States, Egypt and Qatar. The IDF has said they are continuing to strike terror targets in Gaza and vowed to free the remaining Israeli hostages taken by Hamas on October 7th by force. Israel also claimed that Hamas was rearming and preparing to launch a new wave of attacks. U.S. National Security Council spokesperson Brian Hughes blamed Hamas for the ceasefire breach, saying that, quote, Hamas could have released hostages to extend the ceasefire, but instead chose refusal and war. 59 Israeli hostages are believed to still be in Gaza. The Forum of Families of Israeli Captives has blamed the Israeli government for giving up on the hostages, saying, quote, we are shocked, angry and scared about the deliberate disruption of the process to return our loved ones from the terrible captivity of Hamas. And it will be all the news for now. Thank you for watching. The Bottom Line with Murray Cato is coming up next.